What is an ice age? So now let's know some key points related to ice age. So the last ice age was 12,000 years ago. At that time, the sea level was 120 meter lower than today. The onset of an ice age is related to the changes in the Earth's tilt and orbit. The Earth is due for another ice age now, but climate changes make it very unlikely. An ice age is a time where a significant amount of the Earth's water is locked up on land in continental glacier. During the last ice age, which finished about 12,000 years ago, enormous ice masses covered huge swathes of land now inhabited by millions of people. Canada and northern USA were completely covered in ice, as was the whole of the northern Europe and northern Asia. At, at the moment, the Earth is an interglacial period, a short warmer period between glacial or ice age period. The Earth has been alternating between long ice ages and shorter interglacial periods for around 2.6 million years. For the last millions years or so, these have been happening roughly every 100,000 years, around 90,000 years of ice age, followed by a roughly 10,000 years interglacial warm period. So, what causes an ice age? So basically, ice age don't just come out of nowhere. It takes thousands of years for an ice age to begin. An ice age is triggered when summer temperatures in the northern hemisphere fail to rise above freezing for years. This means that winter snowfall doesn't melt, but instead builds up, compresses, and over starts to compact or glaciate into ice sheets. Over thousands of years, these ice sheets start to build up. It seems to be in northern Canada when that first happened, and then they spread out of across the northern hemisphere. It's a long-term trend over thousands of years to colder summers. Dr. Stephen Phillips, an ice age sheet modeler, said. Dr. Phillips is also a climate system modeler and climatologist with the University of Osmania. The onset of an ice age is related to the Milankovitch cycles. Yes guys, the onset of an ice age is related to Milankovitch cycles, where regular changes in the Earth's tilt and orbit combine to affect which areas on Earth get more or less solar radiation. When all these factors align, so the northern hemisphere gets less solar radiation in the summer and ice age can be started. So, are we due for another ice age? So now another question arises, that are we due for another ice age? So actually, based on previous cycles, the Earth is probably due to go into an ice age about now. In fact, conditions were starting to line up for a new ice age at least 6,000 years ago. If you look at what was happening prior to the Industrial Revolution, summers were actually getting colder in the northern hemisphere. They have been getting colder for at least the last 6,000 years, so we were definitely on the trend, Dr. Phillips says. But that trend has now been comprehensively reversed because of the greenhouse gas emission, according to Dr. Phillips. There is no chance of us going into an ice age now because the greenhouse gases we have put into atmosphere during the industrial era have warmed the earth. Although the scientists can't say we have definitely prevented the next ice age, it's certainly accepted that humans have a significant part to play. There is actually a hypothesis that it's not just industrial society, but ever since humans began practicing large-scale farming at least 5,000 years ago, such as methane emission from rice paddies, Dr. Phipps said. So it's possibly not just greenhouse gas emission over the last 200 years that stops us going into an ice age, but it's actually greenhouse gas emission for the last 5,000 years that have collectively helped to steer us away from the next ice age. So another question arises is that what would happen if there was an ice age today? So actually we may have delayed the onset of the next ice age for now. But if another one came, it would have pretty big consequences for human civilization. Beside the fact, it would be an awful lot colder, huge region where hundreds or millions of people live would become completely uninhabitable. They would be covered in thick ice sheets and be subject to an inhospitable climate. Assuming it was similar to the last one, then Northern America would be covered in ice. The whole of the northern Europe, the whole of the northern Asia would be covered in ice, Dr. Phipps said. There would be a lot less agricultural land available, so it would be very difficult to support the human population, Dr. Phipps warned. And the physical shape of the continents would look completely different across the whole planet. A huge drop in sea level of up to 120 meters would close down marine channels, the Mediterranean Sea, Torres Strait, Bass Straits and Bering Straits, and create new areas of land that could be used for habitation of agriculture. Ocean forts would no longer be on the oceans, and anyone wanting water views would need to relocate large distances. What we have the last ice age to thank for. So now another question arises, that what we have the last ice age to thank for. Ice ages have had an absolutely enormous impact on the human evolution. During the last ice age, which ran from about 110,000 years ago to 10,000 years ago, the lower sea levels allowed humans to move out across the entire world. There was no Bering Straits, no North America and Asia were joined, and that's actually how humans first roamed into the America. They just walk over the land bridge, Dr. Phipps said. While there was still some water between Asia and Australia, it took just a few short canoe trips to bring the first humans to Australasia. They would have just come over towards New Guinea. There were no tourist states, so humans could have just walked from New Guinea to the Australian mainland, and there was no bus state, so humans could have walked from the Australian mainland over to the Tasmania. He said, the whole dispersal of humans around the world during the last 100,000 years was made entirely possible by the fact we were in an ice age at the time. So now another question that arises related to ice age is that how do we know they happened in the past? Yes, it's pretty good question, that how do we know that ice age happened in the past? It's a fair question. How can we know so much about these major events in the past? Scientists have a variety of methods they use. Evidence for the more recent ice ages comes from changing sea levels in the past, which can be seen by looking at coral reefs or modern landscapes. So now let's know something about the Quaternary glaciation. Yes guys, you listen it right. That now let's know something about the Quaternary glaciation. Compared to the condition of Earth 20,000 to 30,000 years ago, we are clearly not in an ice age now. But in terms of the long history of an Earth, we are actually still in an overarching ice age period known as the Quaternary glaciation. Yes guys, you listen it right, that the long history of the mother planet Earth, we are actually still in an overarching ice age period known as the Quaternary glaciation, which has been going for last 2.6 million years. At the moment, the Earth is just in a slightly warmer period, an interglacial. There have been at least 4 other overarching ice ages in the Earth's history. The oldest started about 22,400 million years ago. Yes guys, there have been at least 4 other overarching ice ages in the Earth's history. The oldest started about 2,400 million years ago. That's how they first pieced together the evidence of glacial cycle, looking at corals and coral reefs and evidence of fast sea level changes in the tropics. They saw there was a cycle of changing sea levels, Dr. Phipps said. Ice core records also provide invaluable information on changes in temperature and greenhouse gases over the last 800,000 years. But going back further into the past, evidence for ice ages in the last tens of millions of years is predominantly seen in the ocean sediments. If you go out into the open oceans, you can drill a core down through the sediments into the ocean bed, and that can take you back tens of millions of years, Dr. Phipps said. And for the deep time ices that occurred tens to hundreds of millions of years ago, scientists uses the geological record where the story of sea level and climate can be unraveled by analyzing rocks of various ice ages.
And yeah, let me know in the comment box about this topic that what do you think about ice ages. Yes guys, you listen to right, that please let me know in the comment box about your thoughts on this topic, on this important and wonderful topic about the ice ages in the comment boxes. So guys, as usual, bye bye, see you soon, peace out.